First of all, I just want to say thank you to those of you who have been so generous as to make a donation to my YouTube channel on the Ko-fi website. And if any of you who are watching would like to make such a donation, there will be a link in the description below where you can do so. So recently, I took one of my sons to a baseball game. And he is an intuitive person, or he favors his intuition over his sensing. And of course, I'm quite the opposite. He has extroverted intuition. And while we were at the baseball game, he was taking inspiration for his art. He is an artist, so he brought a sketchbook. He likes to take inspiration from any place that he can. And so he brought his sketchbook to the baseball game in the hopes that perhaps being in an environment which he was not normally in and observing an activity that he does not normally observe might inspire him to create some sort of art. Now, his art is more abstract in nature, being an intuitive over a sensor. He is not trying to mimic the real world. I've noticed that when it comes to art, a lot of sensors try to make their art as much as they can a representation, a good or perfect representation of the real physical world, whereas intuitives oftentimes will create a more abstract type of art that is not meant to perfectly mimic the real physical world. And so here he was at the baseball game, sketching in his sketchbook an idea that came to him during the baseball game that was intuitive in nature. It was not meant to represent an accurate depiction of the physical world. While he was doing that, I said, hey, I'm going to go get some food. Now, he loves nachos, and at the ballpark they have some nachos that are not just your basic chips and cheese. They've got all sorts of things on them. And so I ran and I got myself some food, and I got him this massive plate of nachos with cheese and meat and I don't remember salsa. I don't know what all was on it. Okay, so I come back to the seats and I say, hey, here, I got you these nachos, and I hand them to him, and he's like, oh, great, thank you. And he's like, I just want to finish this drawing that I'm making. Now, this is where I see frequently when I'm dealing with intuitives versus sensors, a divergence when it comes to food as an example, but it can be anything that is indulging in or enjoying the pleasures of the sensory. And that is that the sensors, by and large, will place a high priority on enjoying the sensory experience to its fullest degree. Whereas the intuitives oftentimes are more interested in taking some sort of meaning or inspiration out of the experience, but they're not necessarily focused on drawing out of it every last drop of sensory pleasure that they can. Now, let me explain what I mean and how it applies to these nachos. If you've ever eaten nachos, you know that it does not take very long when the nacho chips have all of the toppings poured over the top of them, as these did, before the chips begin to become soggy or flimsy. And in my estimation, the quality of the experience of biting into the chip loaded with all of the stuff that they put on it is higher when the chip is fresh and still crispy. And as the quality of the chip or the integrity of the chip degrades as it soaks in the moisture from the other, from all of the toppings, I also think that the experience of eating it degrades. And so I find, like, when I pour a bowl of cereal, if I put milk over it, I oftentimes want to eat that bowl of cereal like super fast because I don't want any of the cereal to become soggy. And so I have to eat it very fast before the milk soaks in and the cereal loses its structural integrity and therefore loses its quality, and therefore the quality of the experience of eating the cereal degrades. So as I hand him the nachos, in my mind, if it were me, I would be like, oh my gosh, I've got to eat these nachos now. I've got to stop everything that I'm doing and focus on these nachos because I will draw from this nacho eating experience the highest level of pleasure if I eat them immediately while they're still fresh. If I wait at all, then the level of the experience is going to decline. However, it is not so in many cases, in my experience, with those who favor their intuition over their sensing. They are oftentimes more concerned with what they are drawing out of the experience, more on a thought level or a philosophical level or an inspiration level, an ideological level, more so than focusing on the actual pleasure that comes from an enjoyable physical experience. And so here he was able to say, the inspiration that I have received to create art from this situation, a baseball game, in which I now find myself, is more important. It's more important that I focus on this idea that I have and complete that. That is more important than pausing and taking the time to draw out of a sensory experience the most pleasure that I can. I do not attack the world in that intuition over sensing way. For me, I want to draw out of every experience the most sensory pleasure that I can. And I am far less concerned, and oftentimes not concerned at all, with whether or not I am inspired by what I'm experiencing, by whether or not it generates within me any ideas. I'm not looking to gain any insights. I just want to taste the chip when it is at its best. I just want to eat the cereal while it is at its best. I just want to enjoy the waterfall. I just want to look at the beautiful sky. I just want to watch the blue heron as it wades in the water looking for a fish. I just want to watch my aquarium or watch a hockey game for no other reason than that it provides sensory pleasure to me. I'm not looking for any kind of inspiration or deep meaning behind it. Not so with those who favor their intuition over their sensing. They go beyond the physical experience that they are receiving and look for meaning within it. They look for inspiration. They look for something that is going to have a more lasting impact in the depths of their mind than it will just the physical pleasure and the memories that therefore will create for them. And this chip eating experience was, I think, a prime example of that. Thank you so much for watching. Do please click like if you found this video informational, entertaining, or useful in any way. Please subscribe if you have not already. And as I stated before, if you would be so kind as to consider donating to my channel, you can do so at the website in the link below. Have an awesome day. Bye now.